Hi, my name's Kieran Smith and I'm better known as Kieran Smith Equestrian, and welcome to the farm, mine and John's home for the summer and where my journey as an equestrian began. So then guys, we're back and better than ever, and today we're spending the evening with John. It's supposed to be the day with John, running a little bit late today, so it's the evening and it's a beautiful evening for it. However, over in that direction are some really dark black clouds, which I'm only going to assume are rain clouds. Now, we're going to head over to the field, we're going to get John in, we're going to try his licker, but first of all, we're going to go back to my previous video to see how John got on with his new fly mask. And it was a bit of a task to get it on him at first, but we did get it on. So I'm going to put the video onto here, take a look at it, and I'll be back in just a moment. So here we are at John's field. He's already waiting at the gate. What do you think of the fly mask? He says absolutely not within 3 seconds, and he's even going to go as far as walking away. John, come try this. Wait, still tastes good. Come try this. He's not too sure because of the fly mask. There we. Oh. Does he like it? Doesn't he like it? Guys, I think that might be a 10 out of 10 for John. What do you think, John? We're actually going to go into the field rather than standing on the other side of the gate. We'll pop that down there for a moment, and his head collar. John, do you want some more of the licket for a minute? Yeah, guys, he's a massive fan of the licket, which is a dangerous game, really, because it just gives me more of an excuse to buy more so that I can try them first and give him a bit of a sugar rush. But should we try your fly mask on you, mate? Should we see if that fits? Just give him a chance to get used to it. I know he's had a fly mask on before, and so does he, but there's no point in me getting frustrated over this because he'll only get more wound up by it. John now looks like a bumblebee, wasp, whatever you want. He flies like a butterfly and stings like a bee, and that, I think, deserves a licket. Now, I don't tend to always treat for good behaviour and things like that, because I've always thought my horses need to understand what respect is, and they should know that they're not going to get a treat every time that they're doing something good. The reward will come on occasions, but not all of the time. But when they're unsure about something like this, and he's not too happy about the fly mask, it's just nice to let him know that he's done something good, that it's not going to murder him, despite I know for a fact that next time it comes to putting a fly mask on him, he's going to do the exact same thing. So that looks like it fits, so I think in a moment, once the camera stopped, I'm going to take this tag off, and Equestrian Saddlery, 10 out of 10. Sometimes he's absolutely perfect with it and he'll let me put it straight on. Other times he shies away from it. I did mention in Tuesday's video that I think it's because he doesn't like things going over his head or covering over his eyes. So yeah, sometimes he can be a bit of a pain in the backside with it, but a bit of patience, we got it on in the end. If you did watch Tuesday's video, you'll know that we brought the fly mask, we got a grooming kit, and we also brought him a licket, which we are yet to try, but we're going to head over. But as we're going over there, I've got something pretty cool to show you, quite an exciting development, and hopefully it will be done soon. But the arena surface has finally started going down, and that means that soon we'll be able to ride in the arena rather than out on the fields. I can't ride him today because he's got the farrier on a Friday. He's due for the farrier and one of his shoes has gone a little bit loose, so we're not riding him for the time being. But there is the arena. It's got the surface going down at the moment. It's probably going to take a couple of weeks before it's fully down and actually settled. But that's another YouTube video, riding on that arena for the first time. But that's a little bit further down the line. So in the meantime, let's head over, let's go grab John in and yeah, spend the evening with John. So John is waiting at the gate ready to come in. He's probably looking forward to a groom. I haven't had a chance to spend much time with him over the last couple of days. Hey John, how you doing, mate? And you'll see that his fly mask is doing the job nicely. He doesn't seem too irritated by the flies at all. And the most important thing, it's still on. He hasn't got it off. What are you doing? He hasn't got it off yet. So let's see if we can get this head collar on. Don't be a nuisance. John. See what I mean? Boy's got issues. Let's try again. There we are. Head collar is securely on. Now to get him back down to the yard. Come on, buddy. He's too fat to move at the moment, I think. Then we are back on the yard. The first things first, we're going to get John's fly mask off so we can get a bit of light to his eyes. Hopefully, it won't be as traumatic as it was putting it on, but we'll find out. We'll undo his rope just in case. He doesn't tend to pull back, but like I say, sometimes he can be a little bit funny with things, and it's not worth taking risks. So then, John is on the yard. Oh, there we go. Chuck this in the tack room, and we're going to go grab his grooming kits. John is so impatient when he's stood on the yard sometimes, especially here on the farm. When he's over at the centre on the field that I have on the corner by the centre, he's actually really patient. He's just not here. Can't get words out today for some reason. I'm incredibly tired, so I'm just making it up as I go along, but those are the best videos. We'll come up here, grab a hay nut, which will also keep him a little bit quieter, and hopefully he'll settle down nicely. He's got half a hay nut from the other day. He'll settle down nicely, and we'll be able to groom him without being bombarded left, right and centre. Come on through. So we've been on the yard for around about 10 seconds. John's already asking for bum scratches, which is coming the bane of my life. But also he's left us a nice deposit on the floor, which is becoming a big issue because it's the first thing he does when he gets in here, onto the yard. He does another one shortly, and he'll do one before he goes out. When he couldn't you just leave it in the field maybe? No. Let's not. So after telling John that he's not going to bum scratch, he's probably going to sulk there and kick that muck around a little bit. I am actually quite prepared. Let me find the light switch, which is all the way down here. I'm quite prepared. I already have a wheelbarrow here with a poop scoop in it, because I just know the first thing he's going to do every time we get onto the yard. However, I don't empty the wheelbarrow every single time I use it, because that takes a lot of trips to the muck heap unnecessarily. You may have just seen that swallow fly through the stables then. They fly incredibly low, and there's been quite a few times where they've almost tucked me out completely or flown into my head. There is also a dead bird in the wheelbarrow. Right, and I'm missing my scoop. Back in a moment. I'm going to dispose of the bird and dispose of the poop. 2 seconds, guys. Then we've disposed of the bird, disposed of the poo. It's horrible when we find dead animals around the yard, but that is part of being on the farm. Quite often we find the swallows getting stuck in the windows and things like that, and we have to catch them and release them, but that's a story for another day. I do want to show you, before we get grooming, what I was having to work with before I got the new grooming kit. So I had my body brush, I had a mane and tail brush. That is a hairbrush that someone left in my car, and I was like, that is now a mane and tail brush. I've got my metal curry comb, and down here I do have somewhere more brushes. Those are not mine. Again, within a week of having a new grooming kit, one of my old brushes have gone missing. That doesn't matter. Grooming kit. Here it is. We'll pop it up here out of John's reach. John likes to throw grooming kits, get involved with the grooming kits, and if he could, he'd probably get in the grooming kit. So I don't particularly have a routine of how I groom the horse. I just tend to grab the first brush I can find and I just get grooming. I have already picked his hooves out in the field because I don't like mess being down on the yard. It's just more to sweep up, so I tend to do it in the field, and if there's any stones I'll chuck them out the field. But let's go with, let's get his mane and tail out the way with to begin with, so that's over and done with. So John's quite good. Some horses don't like being sprayed with mane and tail. John's quite good. I haven't actually opened this bottle yet. Don't stand on me, mate. Bear with me. Oh, I think I could do with some of this in my hair, actually. So spray him down. He's going to need quite a bit of it. His tail gets really knotty really easy. I can guarantee if I put this on now, brush his tail out. It will be just as knotty again in the morning. Same again over his mane. Perfect. And the one thing I can't stand is when people brush from there down and they pull all the knots through the horse's tail, they pull the horse's tail out, and most importantly, they make the horse uncomfortable. So I always like to prefer to stay at the bottom, start at the bottom. I tend to actually split it into sections. So I'll start from the bottom and I'll start to work my way up, and I'll go through the sections just like that. And John actually does, as you can see, if you pan over to his face now for me, he actually does enjoy being groomed. He's kind of gone quiet now, he's switched off. He probably thinks he's going to get a bum scratch any minute now with the mane and tail brush, which he's not, just to let you know. Brushing it through is quite knotty, so I am going to cut the video there, guys, and I'll show you the finished product. And just like that, John's tail is done. Now, John has a really, really bushy tail, especially up here. It literally comes out here. Dancer, my mare who you'll meet in a little bit further down the line in another video, her tail when I first had her used to be quite thin at the top here, and then it would come down and it would come out like that. It was such a beautiful tail. And she spent a lot of time lying down in the field, and other horses pulling it out and things like that, and it just slowly came out, and I was absolutely gutted. But John's tail isn't too thick, it's nice and thin, and as you can see now, the mane and tail brush is running through it quite nicely, and that's him reversing for bum scratches and telling me he's had enough of that. Let's go over to his mane. Let's ask him to move over. John, go over, mate. No more toilet breaks. Go over, buddy. Same with his mane. He's got quite a thin mane, to be perfectly honest. I cut his mane as well. I don't tend to pull them, just because he doesn't like it, and I'm not a massive fan of pulling, to be honest. I prefer thicker manes. His mane could do with a little bit of a trim, just on the ends there, but I'm not going to do that whilst on camera, because if I mess it up, I've got to try to justify it, and nobody wants that. Perfect. So in between brushing his tail and his mane, I've done a bit of faffing around the yard, just talking to people. They've come over and had a conversation, but also look down again. He's been for his second poo of the evening, which is an absolute joke. But also, I've forgotten one very, very important thing, and it makes me a very, very bad owner. But I brought his hay net round, but I never give it to him. Though I don't think he's going to eat it, because the grass in his field. Come over here, guys. Look how tense his lip is at the moment, and that is because he is so concerned over the fact that he can see the tops of the head of people over the wall over there, that he stressed himself out, which he doesn't usually do. He's pretty settled normally, but he's worked himself up, and now he's got himself with a little tense lip, and he's grown about 20 million hands. So let's just hope that this hay net might settle him down. Highly doubt it. He's got a nice round belly at the moment, as he's not been You've not been in work this week, have you? And you're just filling yourself up. Yeah, it's good life being a horse, really. I would usually use a rubber curry comb right now, but that is the brush that's gone missing. We've got a dandy brush. It's a green, it's a HY Sport Active dandy brush. And it's emerald green, if you want to know. We're going to brush him down. He does quite like this part. Give him a brush everywhere over. But whilst I'm also grooming him, you're also checking to make sure there's no injuries or anything like that there. He hasn't cut himself. I already know he hasn't hurt himself because I have already checked him over as he come in from the field. And to be perfectly honest, as soon as I get to the field to catch him in, I've already sort of glanced over him with my eyes to make sure there's nothing wrong, as any horse owner would do. The last thing you want to find on your horse is an injury that's going to cost you any sort of money. Vet bills aren't cheap, especially nowadays. Vet bills aren't cheap, full stop. Even back in the days. But no, he is looking okay. He's in quite good condition at the moment. He's just a little bit round. Though if I run my fingers across, the other day I could feel his ribs. I can't feel his ribs anymore, guys. So I think John may need to go on a diet. Yeah, you heard me. We're done with the dandy brush. Now we're going to get the body brush, and also in here I've got the metal curry comb. Metal curry comb, dandy brush. So one thing I learned with these, everyone sort of, you know, they brush over like that, you flick over. To actually have these, to make this effective, you've got to do quite hard, long strokes. Not too hard that you make the horse uncomfortable. Though John is looking at me right now thinking, what on earth are you doing? And we're just brushing off onto the metal curry comb, like many of you will already know. Brushing off with the metal curry comb to get any dust off the brush. Stand up, John. Just like so. And that's just going to bring up a nice shine in his coat. Get off any dust that might be on him at the moment. And the dandy brush has got a majority of it off, I think. But we're really giving it a good flick as we brush over him. And always going with the direction of fur, making it enjoyable for him. Because who wants to be brushed too hard? I wouldn't know because I'm not a horse, but I'm guessing John probably doesn't want to be. That's John, fully groomed. I'll let you guys rate my grooming out of 1 to 10. 10 being super good, 1 being really bad. I'd rate myself a 10, but he was quite clean to begin with. He doesn't tend to get very dirty, though he's getting a little bit impatient at the moment. I'm not riding him this evening. Again, he needs his shoes doing. So we're going to get his fly mask on. We're going to see how that goes, and we'll get him out to the field and start tidying up the yard. Ready to get John to bed. Dude, get off. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. Right, on a serious note now, we will try get his fly mask on, and I think he's going to be okay with it. He's on the yard. Again, we will untie him just in case he pulls back. Yes, he is tied to baling twine, but ideally I don't want him to snap anything, whether it be the string, himself, me, whatever. It's going to be a good experience all round for him. But he does just do it, I think, to be a bit of a pain in the bottom like he is now. John, mate, come here. Good lad. See, today we're absolutely fine. No, we're not. Good boy. Sorry, did that touch your eye? Get it on. Thread it through. John's turned back into a wasp. And we'll zip it up, and then we'll make sure everything's sat in the right position before taking him over to the field. So after John moving his head around quite a bit, me having to play around with the zipper for a little while, the fly mask is finally on. Just checking to make sure it's off his eyes. That is his forelock and his mane underneath there are separated so he's nice and comfortable, and also so it doesn't rub any of it away. We'll clip that back up. Make sure it's okay on the other side. All looks good. No flies are eating John's ears this evening. And now, there's only one thing left to do. Get rid of John for the night. Come on, dude. John tends to be quite well behaved to take to the field, though when he's on the farm at the moment, because there's so many works going on, for example, you've got the bags here, we've got a lot of rubble, mud, digger stuff around. I do have to watch him, because I think he makes up scenarios in his head, and there's been a few times, John, I'm having to watch him now, there's been a few times where he's accidentally spooked and gone into me, and it's not pleasant, really. So I always try to get him to keep his distance when and where I can. It's a bit difficult of a trek to the field at the moment. Again, everything everywhere. But try to get him to keep his distance so he has his personal space. He doesn't need to be in my space. And he should just walk through the field respectfully. And he knows his way, he knows what the routine is. But sometimes things get in the way, things spook him, and everything tends to go wrong. But I'll see you guys over in the field. No. One thing I stress a lot is, yes, I know this horse very well. Yes, I know what he's likely to do and what he's not likely to do. However, sometimes there may be occasions where he's a little bit unpredictable. He may act out of character and do something without intentionally doing it. So one thing you should always make sure you do is when you get into the field is turn your horse round towards you so that you've got time to move away if they do run off. Now, John doesn't tend to run off. Just because he's too lazy to do so, but he could do, and he has done on occasions where he's run off. There you go, he's just walked off. Excuse his bits and bobs out just there. He's yeah, his manners aren't the best. But then he walked away, but there's been occasions where he has spun off and he's run out and he's kicked out in excitement. Or I remember a few months ago, well actually no, during the winter, I rolled a hay bale across his field and he come over to see what was going on. I shooed him away and he spun around to run off to get out of the way like I'd asked him to do, but he kicked out with excitement at the same time and he missed me by about that much, okay? So yes, you may know your horses, and yes, I know that horse very well, but you should never ever be too careful. And turn your horse towards you and letting them go like I just did there is the best thing to do. Stay safe. But at the same time, it's also good to have a race. Come on, John! I told you, that horse runs nowhere. You cannot get him to run anywhere. Cut the camera, cut the camera. That is mine and John's routine. I don't really have a routine. My life changes every single day. Something happens, something comes up. I have limited time, I have loads of time. So I make the most of the time that I've got, and sometimes things have to switch up slightly. When it comes to grooming, like I said on my previous video, I never used to enjoy grooming at all, and I'm not afraid to admit that because that's just me. I'm a very active person, my mind goes everywhere, I'm trying to do 101 things at once. But most recently I've really tried to settle down into the grooming routine because it's the perfect opportunity for me and John to have a bit of bonding time, to get him clean for riding, but I've also, as I've started to get into it more, it's a really good time for me to switch off and just learn that actually I don't need to do everything at 100 miles per hour, and then I can relax and spend time with my horse without worrying about what I've got to do next. But that is my routine. You guys have seen John and you've seen him be groomed, so you can rate him on a scale of 1 to 10 on how clean he is, and I am going to go out into the yard and tidy up the mess that John's made and also get the grooming kit back into its bag, into the tack room, so nobody can take it. Nobody is stealing a single one of those brushes, I promise. And if you're watching this video thinking that you're going to, think again. Anyway guys, until next time, have a good rest of your week, have a good weekend. It's Friday now, isn't it? And yeah, see you all soon.